أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله، وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. No doubt, and Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah ta'ala, you probably can't find in the dunya a Muslim except that he has heard about Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. He's one of the premier ulama from the salaf of this ummah, from the righteous predecessors, and there are many things that we can learn from his life. There are many reasons why we should come to know about him. The brothers decided to choose Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE because this masjid, which is the masjid of Allah, Baytullah, doesn't belong to any individual, any qabila, doesn't belong to any ethnic group. The person who's a revert from America can lead the people in salah in this masjid. There's no condition, he has to be Somali, you just have to know what you're doing. But the point here is that one of the reasons why Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE has been mentioned, or being mentioned today, is because many of the people from the Somali community know about the Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE because their madhab is the Shafi'i madhab. But that does not negate the need that other Muslims, if you're on another madhab, like the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa, for example, doesn't prevent an individual from getting benefit from the ulama, irregardless of what their madhab was. As a matter of fact, we see this being shown to us and exemplified in the life of Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, in that he met and he took knowledge from Imam Malik, and he sat down and he dealt with the Muwatta of Imam Malik, and he memorized the Muwatta of Imam Malik, not to mention Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, who was one of the main students of Imam Abu Hanifa. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE didn't meet Abu Hanifa, but he met the premier students of Abu Hanifa who were older than him. And from those students was, as I mentioned, Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. And when Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE sat with him, they mutually benefited from each other. So the point is, the scholars of the past, Ikhwani, used to love knowledge, and they were not people who had al-asabiyah. Al-asabiyah is when you refuse to take knowledge from someone for a reason that's not religious. He's not your color, he's not from your tribe, he's not from your madhab, he's older than you, it's a person from another sex, you're a man, she's a woman, so you don't listen to what she has to say. The haqq is the property of the Muslim. Wherever he finds it, he takes it. And that's why the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to get news from the Yahud. He used to get news from the Yahud. And he wouldn't reject it because they were Yahud. He would accept it if it was true. The lady told Aisha radiallahu anha, and the lady was a Yahud, you Muslims make shirk. Aisha said, what are you talking about? We make shirk. She said that you people make the statement, Ma sha Allah wa ma sha Muhammad. It was because of Allah that such a thing happened, and it was because of Muhammad such a thing happened. Aisha, I don't know. She went to the Nabi. She told him what the Yahudi said. The Nabi said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Jewish lady told the truth. Sadaqat al-Yahudiyya. She told the truth. He didn't say, get out of here with that kalam. It's coming from a Jew. So in al-Islam, in the knowledge of al-Islam, those madahib, we respect, we honor all of them, but don't be one of those people who you keep yourself inside the realm of the madhab and you don't go outside of the realm. If you want to know a person's knowledge, you want to know the level of your sheikh's knowledge, or any person, the imam in this masjid, any person, you want to know the level, then expose yourself to other people. And then you'll be in a position to make the muqarana, and you'll be able to compare But if you just stay in one cup, you just stay in one bag, you just stay in one masjid, your knowledge is going to be limited. So concerning Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, his name was Muhammad ibn Idris, and his kunya was Abu Abdullah. He was from the Quraysh, and he was considered by the ulama who came after him and during his time as being what's known as a mujaddid, a renewer of the religion, a renewer of the affairs of the religion. The Nabi said in an authentic hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, inna Allah yab'athu ala kulli ra'si mi'ati sana rajulin yujaddid li hadhihi al-ummati amra diniha. Every 100 years Allah will send forth a man who will renew for this religion its affair, who will renew. He will give life and make it new again. But we need to understand that hadith before moving on. It doesn't mean that the religion died. Doesn't mean that at all. One of the great scholars of Islam is Imam An-Nawawi. I think everybody heard about him. He was from the Shafi'i madhab. And Imam An-Nawawi, 40 hadith. He wrote the 40 hadith. An-Nawawiyah. He wrote the book Al-Adhkar. He, rahimahullah ta'ala, wrote the book Al-Majmu'. Tremendous scholar, Riyadh al-Salihin. They gave him the nickname, the laqab, Muhyiddin. Muhyiddin means the one who gave life to the religion. They used to call scholars with those names in the past. Sadruddin, Tajuddin, Shamsuddin. They gave him that name, Saifuddin. They called them Imam An-Nawawi Muhyiddin, the one who gave life to the religion. He said, Wallahi, anybody who calls me Muhyiddin, I won't excuse you Yawm al-Qiyamah. Because the religion of Islam never died, that it needed me to come to give life to it. So the meaning of Al-Mujaddid, as Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was considered to be a reviver, a revivalist. Doesn't mean that Islam died. It just that meant when these individuals come, they bring back into the knowledge and into the attention of the community aspects of their religion of what they need to know. So they were mujaddideen in jihad. They were mujaddideen in fiqh. They were mujaddideen in hadith. They were mujaddideen in ibadah, so forth and so on. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah ta'ala was born in the year 150. So he was from the as-salaf as-salih, from those 3 centuries of al-Islam that are better than any other century that comes after. The Nabi told the people, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, khayru nas qarni thumma alladhina yalunahum thumma alladhina yalunahum. The best people are the people who live in my century, the first 100 years, my companions. And then the people come after that. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, he was blessed. Not only was he Qurayshi, being a person from Quraysh, from Bani Hashim, a person especially if he's from Quraysh. An individual who is Qurayshi is not like the individual who is not Qurayshi. The Qurayshi and the people from the Ashraf, they have a higher position. Doesn't mean automatically that they're in Jannah. There are people from Quraysh, Kuffar, Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, Kuffar. And Bilal is not from Quraysh. Salman is not from Quraysh. They're in Jannah, from the awliya of Allah. But if a person is a Muslim, practices Islam, dies in Islam, then the Qurayshi individual is not like the non-Qurayshi. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was honored, and he was given that nobility in terms of his nasab, that he was from the people of Quraysh, rahimahullahu tabarak wa ta'ala. At a very young age, obviously, as it was the custom back then, and Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE memorized the book of Allah, 9 years old, 10 years old. Back then, during that time, the year 150, if your child did not memorize that Quran, and the people of the masjid knew that your child did not memorize that Quran, they used to look at the father, who this was his condition, as being muqassir, muhmil. He's not taking care of his job. Back then, that's how it was. Not like that now, but back then, that's how it was. It was absolutely mandatory that the child memorize the book of Allah Ta'ala, and after memorizing the Quran, they would start to decide what are they going to do with that child in terms of will they send them out to travel, what scholar they put them with, and so forth and so on. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah was blessed by Allah Azza wa Jalla to have an intellect that was hadiq. He had an intellect that was sharp, and he was able to read the Quran and memorize the Quran with the proper recitation of the Quran from some of the leading ulama of that time. He was born in Palestine, in a place called Gaza. So he's Ghazawi. Gaza is that place in Palestine that a few months ago, the Yahud, lahum min Allahi ma yastahiqun, they were dropping bombs on those people and they decimated them, chemical weapons. And other than that, that's where Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was born. After about 2 years of his life, his parents took him back to Mecca, where they came from. And he grew up in Mecca, rahimahullahu subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in Mecca, there were some tremendous ulama that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE benefited from. The top of the list was this scholar by the name of Sufyan ibn Uyayna al-Hilali. Students of knowledge know this man because he's one of the two Sufyans, Sufyan Ath-Thawri and Sufyan ibn Uyayna. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was Sufyan ibn Uyayna's student in Mecca. And he was the strongest person, the athbat an-nas, aqwa an-nas. He was the one student who really preserved that knowledge of Ibn Uyayna. Our brother Harsi said that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE is one of the 4 imams, when in reality, the meaning he's one of the 4 imams who their madhab was preserved. But there were other imam, we have to remember, ikhwani, who were big and better than Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE and the rest of those 3 imams. But their madhab, for one reason or another, it went away. From them, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, that man had a madhab. From them, Ibrahim ibn Ishaq, Rahuwiya, he was bigger than those 4 imams. Sa'd ibn Ulayth, bigger than those 4 imams. Al-Imam al-Awza'i, all of those ulama had madhahib. For one reason or another, political and other than that, those madhabs disappeared, which is a clear indication. Again, it doesn't make sense for a Muslim to allow himself to remain in one cup, to be confined just to one book, to one sheikh, to one madhab. Stay on your madhab, no problem. Do your madhab as a systematic approach to find out halal or haram. The hijab of the woman, how does it look? In my madhab, they say this and they say that. So I'm going to come to the conclusion based upon my madhab says I have to look at the Quran, then I have to look at the Sunnah, then I have to look at the Qiyas, then I have to look at the Ijma, and so forth, so on. But when my madhab is wrong, and I come to an issue, a mas'ala, my madhab is wrong, I have to put my madhab aside, and I have to hang on to what is correct. If you do the madhab like that, you're going to be okay. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, he used to tell his students, like all of the other 3 imams, إِذَا صَحَّ الْحَدِيثُ فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. If the hadith is authentic, then that's my madhab. You'll find the person today, unfortunately, Somali, on the Shafi'i madhab. You find the guy from West Africa, Nigeria, Mali, on the Maliki madhab. You find the guy in Saudi Arabia on the Hanbali madhab. You'll find an individual from Pakistan on the Hanafi madhab. Something about their madhab goes against the Sunnah. For an example, Raf'ul Yadayn. The Nabi raised his hand in the Salat 4 times. You present that to the individual of the Hanafi madhab. Another guy in West Africa, he prays with his hands down here. You bring the hadith that the Nabi said all of the prophets and messengers, when they prayed, they grabbed their left hand with their right hand. You bring this proof to the people, and they're on the madhab, they'll say, the Imam must have known. I'm not listening to that. If the Imam didn't do it, then he must have known that hadith and he must have left it for a reason. This is a problem with the madhab right there. All of those scholars, Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, all of those scholars, they were of that opinion that you have to take the kitab and the sunnah. One of the great leading ulama of the time doing Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, his name was Harmal ibn Yahya al-Azali. They didn't agree with each other in a lot of issues. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE said, shall we not debate about the issue? And they began to debate. And when they debated, after the debate, and Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE said to the man, although we debated, shall we not continue to be brothers who love and respect each other? He went his way and he went his way. The man said, مَا رَأَيْتُ أَعْقَلْ مِنْ ASH-SHAFI'EE. I never saw anyone more intelligent than that person. Today, I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me. And in my disagreement with you, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to make bad statements about you. I'm going to make ghibah. I'm going to make disruption. Immature. Insincere. I don't want this masjid to bring someone here to give a talk. I'm not responsible. Whoever organized it comes to give the talk. I don't agree. So what do? Instead of going and talking and trying to put my point across and debating with adab, with knowledge, with fairness and justice, the way Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE and those ulama were upon, I disrupt the program. Those scholars of the past, they were broader in the understanding of this deen, because the goal and the objective with these people was to worship Allah with ikhlas and to arrive at the haqq. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, Ikhwani, when he grew up, as it was the custom and the practice of the people of the past, immediately he went to travel. He traveled to Yemen, which is not far from Mecca. And while he was in Yemen for about 2 years, he would come back to perform the Hajj. But his first trip was to Yemen. And then he went to Al-Baghdad, which was the learning capital in the Muslim world during that time. In Al-Baghdad, Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE really began to blossom. But one of the tremendous incidents that transpired in Al-Baghdad is that the Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, min hunalika tatla' qarn al-fitan. From Al-Baghdad, the horns of fitan are going to come forward to this ummah. He told the companions that over 1400 years ago, he used to say Al-Baghdad, Al-Iraq, in that area, there are going to be zalazil, there are going to be earthquakes and all kinds of problems, physical problems with the earth. And there's going to be drama and fitna, fighting. And from the drama and fitna that took place in that area to this very day is innovation. Innovation. To the point, if you go to Baghdad today with the people of At-Tashayyur, the Ithna Ashariya, 12 Imams, you go to Baghdad, you won't even recognize the connection of that religion to what the Prophet brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Pictures of Hassan and Hussein, pictures of Fatima, masjids that are built, not designed for people to stay and pray in there, but they are built with graves in there for people they consider to be awliya. Muslims going to the mountain over there, waiting for the Mahdi to come out for the last 1,000 years. So they said that man is in that people are believing all kind of nonsense. Anyway, when Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE went to that area, the Muslims were a lot of innovations going on. The innovation of Al-Qadariyah, the innovation of Al-Jahmiyyah, the innovation of Al-Irja', the innovation of Al-Jabariyah. All of this stuff was there. At-Tashayyur, it was a quagmire of drama, a melting pot of problems. When Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE went there, he was an added strength for the people of the Sunnah. And this is very important. One thing I want you brothers to leave from this masjid, you younger brothers, concerning Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, is that you should know Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was an Imam of the Sunnah. And I don't mean by the Sunnah here, the Quran and the Sunnah. I mean, he was Imam of the Sunnah, meaning an Imam of the Minhaj al-Salafi, what those companions were upon. He wasn't an Imam of Khurafat, an Imam calling and inviting people to shirk and kufr, al-asabiyah. He wasn't like that. He was an Imam of the Sunnah, rahimahullah ta'ala. So while in Baghdad, he began to teach, and the people recognized his ability. He met the leading scholars of Al-Baghdad. From them, Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who was older than Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. And when he saw and met Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, he said to him, you have a future. You have a future. When Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE met Al-Imam Malik, when he was young, he's living in Mecca, he went to Medina, he met Al-Imam Malik. Al-Imam Malik saw him in the majlis, in the dars, and the way he was memorizing the questions, how he answered. He told him, come here. He said, you have a bright future. Just leave alone sinning, you're going to be all right. So those ulama had the ability, with their firasa, by the permission of Allah, the insight, the signs that they saw in the man when he was young, they had the ability to determine that in his mustaqbal, inshallah, not because they have ilm al-ghayb, there were just certain muwasafat, certain isharat that the man had, that the ulama of al-Islam used to encourage him. If you really want to amount to something, then stay the course and continue to be what you are upon. So after leaving Al-Baghdad, Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE went to Egypt. And in Egypt, Misr, back then and Misr now, has always been an important bedrock for the Muslims in Islam. Back then and now, is one of the leading Islamic countries of knowledge and progress. Back then and now, it's always been the case. He went to Egypt 2 times. And this is also important for you Shafi'i people, because many people, wallahi ikhwani, when it comes to the madhab, people follow the madhab and they don't know what they're doing. It's just the religion of my father. They said that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE had 2 madhabs. 2. He has the same madhab, but there are 2 different times and eras of his madhab. One is when he was in Iraq. One, when he was developing himself and he took positions about particular things. And then his second madhab is when he went to Egypt, when he began to change some of his positions, his original positions, showing that al-Islam doesn't embrace al-Jamud. You can't just hold down like this and stay that way and not move and grow and develop. You have to be willing to open your mind and to develop. That doesn't mean that we should be liberal to the degree everything that comes to us, we embrace it and we change. So we become like the people of innovation. Scholars said that people of innovation are aktharu nas talawwanan. They change colors all the time. They're this today, they're that tomorrow, there's something else there. No, we're not saying being liberal, but you have to be open-minded to embrace that you didn't know stuff yesterday that you came to know today. And when that happens, it's not a sign and an indication that you're dumb. And another thing about that issue, the Khwani, with Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE having 2 madhabs. Another issue is, if you read some of the books of Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, some of the opinions, you may find that he said a thing is halal. You find that in the book, you read it. But then you find it somewhere else where he said it's haram. He has 2 opinions on it. Some ignorant person who comes, who doesn't have respect for Islamic scholasticship, he comes and he says, this scholar, look at him, Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, other than, look at him. He has tanaqadat. He said this one day, said that another day. This is one of the big problems that people who want to show themselves as being bigger have when you want to go after your enemy. During our time, probably the greatest muhaddith during our time is Al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala. Al-Albani is not on the level of Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, it's not on the level of Ibn Taymiyyah, it's not on the level of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. But nonetheless, in our time, he's a scholar of the Sunnah. And he's working for 60 years in hadith. 60 years. He would say this hadith is authentic. Over here, that same hadith, he would say is hasan. Over here in another book, he would say is da'if. You come along, you have to determine which one was the last ruling that he gave. And one of these rulings, which one is the truth. And what other scholars are supporting that. And then you also have to say, and this is the point, may Allah bless him and give him a reward in the ones that he was wrong on, and don't come and say, look at the contradictions. Because every person is like that. Every human being is like that. Other than the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're going to have an opinion today. As you grow and you develop and you get exposed to more things, you have to change your position. If you're in the same place today that you were when you embraced Islam, when you started practicing, then there's something wrong with that equation. So Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE went to Egypt. And that's where he remained, and that's where he died. And in Egypt is where his madhab blossomed. And that's where his madhab started to spread to the 4 corners of the earth until the point today, El-Yom, El-Yom. The Azhar University, Al-Azhar, it is the oldest institution of higher learning in the dunya, in Islam or outside of Islam. There's no university older than Al-Azhar. In order for the Sheikh of Al-Azhar to be a Sheikh, if you're going to be the man who leads Al-Azhar, you have to be on the Shafi'i madhab. And that's because of the impact that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE had on those people in that area during his time. Rahimahullahu wa radiyallahu anhu wa anna. Concerning Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, Ikhwani, no one can take Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, rahmatullah alayhi, and just say, ASH-SHAFI'EE was a faqih. Many people just know him as a faqih, but in reality he was baris in all of the ulum of al-Islam. Great scholar of al-Islam, al-Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Karabisi. He said in the majlis of al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, There were muhaddithun, there were fuqaha, there were usuliyun, there were nahwiyun. Every science in Islam, this man, he had it. He possessed it. He was a faqih. He had knowledge of the usul fiqh. He knew the nasab and the history of the Arabs. If you came in Somalia, for an example, it's not uncommon for the boy to know his name, his father's name, his grandfather's name, his grandfather's father's name, up to 10 people. And that's a good thing. And you should teach your people that. It's part of what Al-Islam came to protect. The Dururiyat al-Khamsa, Islam came to protect 5 things. And one of the 5 things it came to protect is your nasab, your lineage. So you should tell your boy, you're so-and-so, son of so-and-so, and I'm the son of so-and-so, and he's able to remember his ajdad as many as possible. If you came to an Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE and you were an Arab, and he asked you where you were from, and Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE knew the ins and outs of the branches of your qabila. He was a nasabi, which was a science that was really recognized back then. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE in the Arabic language, he was a nahwiyun, a person of nahu. When you hear about Sibawayh, when you hear about Farazdaq, you hear about those people of Mutanabbih, you hear about their names. Although they preceded Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE in terms of shuhra, what people know about them in language, he wasn't far behind those people. He was on par with those people. And that's why you find from the best beneficial diwans of the Arabic language are the poetry of Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. So the shahid, point of that kalam is, Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE had the different ulum, all of them. They were right in front of his eyes. He took from them as he wanted. And as a result of that, it was very difficult, ikhwani, during that time, for anyone, whether he was on the sunnah or whether he was an innovator, it was difficult for anyone to debate Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE and win the debate because of all of the weapons that he had at his disposal. But he was a man who was humble. He knew that Allah blessed him with that ability, but he used to say to people before the debate, he said, I never ever went into a debate with anyone except that I thought that I was on the truth and I thought that he was wrong. And I went into the debate hoping that the truth was with him, because he said, if the truth is with him and he presents it to me, I know I have the ability to accept it. But if the truth is with me and I present it to him, I don't know if he has the ability to accept it. So you have your opinion. Raf'ul yadayn, you shouldn't do it. That's your opinion. You think you're right. No problem. You have ikhlas. This one here believes Raf'ul yadayn is wrong. When they come into the discussion and they want to debate the issue with adab, you have that individual who, no matter what I hear, I'm not going to listen. Summun bukmun umyun. That's how they are. Deaf, dumb, and blind. Sawa'un alayhim. It's the same on them. If you warn them and you don't warn them, it's going to be the same. Because he's not trying to hear it. He'll hear it, but he's not trying to listen. You don't want to be like that. You want to be like those imams of the past. Open-minded, ready to embrace the haqq. So Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, rahimahullah ta'ala, he excelled in every science of Al-Islam. But there's one particular science that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE is attributed to being the one who actually started that science. So some of the scholars say about Abu Hanifa, An-Nas Iyal ala Abi Hanifa. All of the people of this ummah, they are indebted to Al-Imam Abu Hanifa in fiqh. And that's because he was the first one to come and he started his book and he started teaching by saying, okay, the first chapter, the chapter of Tahara. The second chapter, the chapter of Salah. The next chapter, the chapter of Zakat. And breaking all of that down and teaching it in a systematic way. So the scholars like Abdullah ibn Mubarak, who was bigger than Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, a contemporary of him, he said that the people owe a debt of gratitude to Al-Imam Abu Hanifa in fiqh. Same thing holds true with Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. This ummah owes a debt of gratitude to this man because he was the one who started a science that's called Usulul Fiqh. Usulul Fiqh. The foundations of jurisprudence. And it's different from fiqh. is different. Now is not the time to try to get into what's the difference between fiqh and usul fiqh. But generally speaking, usul fiqh are a number of rules and regulations. If you comprehend them and you understand them, these rules and regulations come from the Quran. They come from the Sunnah. Rules and regulations that come from ayat and ahadith. If you don't memorize the Quran, and you don't memorize a lot of the Sunnah, but you comprehended these rules and regulations, you will be a faqih. You will be known your religion. You will know how to navigate through complicated issues, fitan, drama, you will know. You can have all of the knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah. You can have all of that. But if you don't know usul fiqh, you'll just be like a babagha, a parrot, parroting things off. The scholars, they said, fiqh, 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 fiqh. It is not your ability to know this is evil and this is helpful. This is going to harm you and this is going to help you. It's not fiqh being able to say, I'm going to take this one. It's a part of fiqh. This is haram, this is halal. This is going to hurt, this is going to help. The person says, I'm doing this one, I'm done. The ulama said, this is not fiqh. It's a part of it. They said real fiqh is, here you have a situation where there are two harms. This is hurtful, that's hurtful. This is going to harm, this is going to harm. This is going to cause you problems, this is going to cause you problems. And you're going to have to choose one of them. Fiqh is being able to choose which one. The lesser of the two evils. He has a wife, it's a problem. They have marital problems. He may not love her. She doesn't respect him. But she has 6, 7, 8 children by him. He has a wife that's a problem, and divorce is a problem. Which one is he going to choose? If he chooses divorce, he's going to lose his children. He's going to lose his children. Now, the other scenario, if I keep my divorce, I'm going to lose my deen. I'm going to wind up murdering her and I'm going to go to the prison, for an example. So he says, I'm going to divorce her because that's the less of the two evils. That's what usul fiqh does. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE started that particular science. And again, Ikhwani, the way he started it is an indication of his humbleness, his ability and desire to want to exchange and not to be closed-minded. There are 10 ulama of al-hadith, 10. They're known as Amir al-Mu'mineen fil hadith. They're the highest scholars in hadith. If you are muhaddith, you could be called al-hafiz, like Ibn Hajar, al-imam, the imam al-imam, Ibn Kathir. That's really big. But the highest level of being described as a scholar of hadith is Amir al-Mu'mineen fil hadith. Amir al-Mu'mineen fil hadith. One of those individuals, Shafi wasn't from them. One of those individuals was a man by the name of Waqi' ibn al-Jarrah. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was on a good relationship with that man, and he used to write him letters. He used to write him letters about different principles, different rules that he understood from the Quran and the Sunnah. He would send it to the man, and the man would send back his opinion. Sometimes he's agreeing, sometimes he's not agreeing, sometimes he's advising him, change it, add, this is good. And they did that for an extensive amount of time. After all of that discussion, and Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE looked at all of those papers and all of those researches that transpired between him and his contemporary, Al-Imam Waqi' ibn al-Jarrah. Al-Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE came up with a brilliant idea. I'm going to turn this into a book of usul fiqh. And he called that book Ar-Risala. It's the first book of usul fiqh, and it is the first book that the people were able to go in and they were to read it to get knowledge about these principles in this most important science. And again, it's from the Fada'il of Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Idris ash-Shafi'ee al-Qurayshi, rahimahullahu tabaraka wa ta'ala. He has another important book considered to be from the classical works in Al-Islam that show and give knowledge of his madhab, the Shafi'i madhab. is very small in comparison to the books that came later on, like the Majmu' of Al-Imam An-Nawawi, and other than that. And that book that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE authored is called Kitab Al-Umm, the mother. And that gives you his opinions in fiqh and so forth and so on. And people come and they've explained that book. People come and that's where they're going to get the fatawa and the ahkam that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE actually gave to the people. Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE, Ikhwani, he died in the year 204. So he was born in 150 and he died 204. So he died young, relatively speaking. He didn't even hit the age of 60. He was in his 50s when he died. And the Ummah has seen that some of the great ulama, they died when they were young. Like I mentioned, Imam An-Nawawi died when he was only 45 years old. And he gave us all of these books and all of these works, which show and indicate that those scholars had barakah in their efforts. They had a lot of barakah, and Allah Azza wa Jalla put qabul in the earth for them, and their names and their personalities and the works that they did. So he died at a very young age. And when he died, rahimahullahu tabarak ta'ala, he had a janazah that was unseen prior to that time there in Egypt. Although Egypt has some prominent people like Layth ibn Sa'd, like Abdullah ibn Wahb. Those were scholars who were there during that particular time, contemporaries of Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah. But the man's shuhra, his popularity, was to the degree where the whole ummah came out in respect and to pay their respect and homage to Imam Abu Abdullah ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah ta'ala. Which brings us to another issue. In Egypt yesterday was the first day of Rajab, the first Friday of Rajab. We are in the blessed month of Rajab. And Rajab is not like the other months of the calendar in our deen. إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض. The number of months with Allah is 12. It was like that the day He created the heavens and the earth. Allah made him 12 months. And then He said in that ayah, مِنَّهَا أَرْبَعَةٌ حُرُمْ فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. From those 12 months, 4 of them are sacred. Sacred month, 3 of them come in a row. The 11th, 12th, and the first month. The 11th month is Dhul al-Qi'dah. The 12th month is Dhul Hijjah, when we make Hajj. And then the new month, the new year, Muharram. So the 3 of them, the Prophet said, Thalatha mutawaliyat. 3 come in a row. 11, 12, the first. And then Rajab. This is a sacred month. The Kuffar of Quraysh used to respect this month. They used to respect this month. They used to make dua in this month to Allah. They waited for this month to make dua against people who oppressed them. And Allah Azza wa Jalla used to answer some of their dua. Because Allah will answer the dua of an oppressor, of a person who's oppressed, even if he's a kafir. As the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Quraysh used to slaughter in this month for Allah. They slaughtered and they called it the Atira. They were slaughtering to Allah and to their gods for this month, because of this month. So the Prophet told the people, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, la fara' wa la atira. Don't slaughter them anymore for this month. If you have an aqiqah, you can slaughter. You have a nikah, you can slaughter. There's some munasabah, you can slaughter. But don't do like Quraysh and come and say, I'm going to slaughter because it's Rajab. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Those kuffar of Quraysh, Ikhwani, they used to stop fighting in this month. If they had drama with you, they had a problem with you, they make peace with you for this month. They would suspend the drama until Sha'ban, to the next month. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنَ شَهْرِ الْحَرَامِ قِتَالٍ فِيهِ قُلْ قِتَالٌ فِيهِ كَبِيرٌ. They ask you about fighting in the sacred months like Rajab. What's the ruling? Tell them fighting in these months is serious. So Quraysh used to abandon fighting in the month of Rajab. In the month of Rajab that we're in right now, some of the Muslims say crazy things. Yesterday, the first Friday of Rajab, one of the biggest innovations, salats known to this ummah, took place yesterday in Egypt. That's the point we're trying to make. We're going to come back to, inshallah. There's a salat called Salat al-Raghaib, where the people read Qul Huwallahu Ahad 100 times with 100 rak'ah. It's one of the biggest innovations in Islam. That was yesterday. Some people felt they have to fast yesterday because it's the first Friday. It's haram to fast on Friday by itself like that. Unless you're fasting Ramadan, unless you're fasting the fast that you're making up from Ramadan or some another, you made an oath, but you shouldn't just say, I'm going to fast on Friday. If you fast on Friday, the Nabi told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fast the day before, day after. You cannot fast Friday by yourself. If you do, you're sinning. It's like a person saying, I'm going to fast on the day of the Eid. You're sinning if you do that. You're disobeying the Nabi. So some people, they fasted yesterday because it's the first Friday of Rajab. Some people believe in Rajab, the Isra wal Mi'raj happened. No dalil. So on the 27th of Rajab, after 2.5 weeks, it's going to be some stuff. No dalil, al-Isra wal Mi'raj. Some people have the opinion that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in the month of Rajab, and that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as a Nabi and the Rasul in the month of Rajab. No dalil. Some said he was born, as you know, in Rabi' al-Thani. Some said he was born in Ramadan. Some said he was born in Muharram. Some said he was born in Rajab. So let's just stick to the Sunnah and that's it. The point is, Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah ta'ala, he died in the month of Rajab. He died in the month of Rajab. There's ikhtilaf as to when he actually died. But in Egypt, upon the death, and when Rajab comes, people do a special mourning who are on the Shafi'i madhab. And we don't have this in our religion. In Al-Islam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam told us, لا يحد رجل يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فوق 3 ليال إلا على الزوج 4 أشهر وعشرة. It's not permissible for anyone who believes in Allah on the last day to mourn the death of any individual for more than 3 days. If I lose my father, my mother, may Allah guide them to Islam before they die. If I lose my mother, my father, I can mourn for 3 days. Mourning means I can't go outside. It's okay that I can't go outside. I'm depressed. I can't get out of the bed. I keep crying. I just can't do anything. Islam allows you to be incapacitated like that for 3 days. The person's wife dies. If that happens, his child dies. He's overwhelmed with grief. He doesn't want to see people, doesn't want to talk with the people. He becomes antisociable. Islam allowed you. Have your space. Go ahead and mourn for 3 days. But after 3 days, you have to tie your shoes up and you got to get up and get about. Get on with your life. Doesn't mean you can't cry after 4 and 5 days. You can still cry, but you cannot check out of life and get out of the game. You have to keep going. But the hadith said, the only one who can mourn over 3 days is the wife. If she loses her husband, she mourns for 4 months and 10 days. She doesn't put on nice clothes. She doesn't wear makeup, lipstick. She doesn't wear perfume even in her house. She tries to stay in her house out of respect for her husband. She doesn't go to the salat. She doesn't do any of that stuff. She tries to stay in her house to the best of her ability out of respect for the husband. 4 months and 10 days. So here we are. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE died in the year 204. And here we are, 1435. So for over 1200 years he's been dead. And we're still mourning his death. And we're still mourning the death of Hussein with celebrations where we see craziness. Again, it just goes to show what has happened to how knowledge has disappeared from amongst the Muslims. So concerning Rajab, Ikhwani, we just want to inform you, we should be cognizant and aware that these are days that the scholars of the past, people like Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE from the pious predecessors, before Ramadan even came, they used to prepare for Ramadan at Rajab time. Physically, mentally, and spiritually, the people of the past, like Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. I can bring you many of the statements that the ulama said in praising Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. They're easily available. And we can bring you many of the statements of the things that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE said in the way of wisdom and benefit. from his statements and from his existence is that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was one of those people of the past who prepared for Ramadan, starting with the month of Rajab. He said that Rajab is the month in which the person plants the seed. Sha'ban is the month in which the person comes, he pours water on the seed that he planted in Ramadan to make it grow. Because there are things you're going to do in Sha'ban. You're going to start fasting more because the Prophet fasts more in Sha'ban than he did in any other month outside of Ramadan. So that when Ramadan comes, the person is not shocked with the difficulty of fasting. He's already used to it. So Rajab, you don't have to do anything. There's no fasting in Rajab in terms of the Sunnah. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu used to fast in the month of Rajab. He fasted a lot in all of the sacred months. Some of the Salaf, Al-Hasan al-Basri, they used to fast many days because the rewards of this day, because of the way, the hurma of the day. It's haram, it's sacred. But you don't have any hadith, Rasulullah fasted or he told us to fast. There's nothing to do. But getting ready for Ramadan, if a person wants to fast the 3 days of the middle of the month, a person wants to fast Mondays and Thursday, he wants to start reading the Quran, he never finishes the Quran in Ramadan, let him start right now. And then they said that Ramadan was the month, and Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE said Ramadan is the month where you come and you take your harvest. Sha'ban, in the month of Rajab, plant the seed. The month of Sha'ban, water that seed. In the month of Ramadan, you come and you take the reward, the harvest, because in Ramadan is Laylatul Qadr. And Ramadan is the Taraweeh. And Ramadan is people giving zakat. And Ramadan is even despite ourselves, we're going to be better Muslims in Ramadan just because of the nature of the month. So this is what we wanted to present concerning Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE rahimahullah ta'ala, who during his time, he was one of the best people on the face of the earth from this ummah. And although we say that, we do not say that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE is in the Jannah. We say we hope that he is in Jannah. We hope. Because we can't put people in Jannah if there's no dalil. So despite all of his greatness, we hope he's from the best of this ummah. It appears in what is apparent. But Allah Ta'ala ultimately knows what people's final outcome is. But his personality is a personality that we respect, we want to imitate and emulate, and it's worth our while going back and trying to learn more about him, especially if you're actually on that madhab. Practice your madhab with knowledge, with basira, and don't practice it with blind following. One of the things that Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was against, he was against blind following. Blind following. And blind following means you take someone's opinion and you don't know where he got it from. You don't know why he took that position. And you take his position. You don't know why. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE was tenacious in trying to be on the sunnah. A man came to him and said, "Ya Imam, what do you have to say about such and such an issue?" And Imam Ahmed said, the ulama said that that issue is haram. And the dalil for it is this. The man said, "What about you?" You said that's the ulama. What about you? Do you take that position as well? He said the ulama said that the thing is haram. And the dalil they use is this. And he told him the dalil. The man said, "Well, okay, you told me about the ulama. What about you? Do you agree? Is that your position?" He said, "Do you see me wearing the clothes of the Jew? Did you see me coming out of church? I tell you that the ruling is haram and give you the dalil, and you ask me if that's my opinion? The only person who this won't be the opinion is a Jew or Christian. What do you look at Jewish man? What's your position concerning fasting?" I don't agree with that. I don't agree with this and that. And Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE's point was, how can you ask me about something in the deen that has a dalil connected to it? You ask me, is that my opinion? It's my opinion. I'm a Muslim. So that's one of the greatest lessons that comes from the story in the life of Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to gather us with Imam ASH-SHAFI'EE along with the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam radiallahu anhum in the Jannat al-Firdaus, and to put us on the path of those ulama al-jibal who were well established in the Sunnah and well established in scholarship. So if you brothers have any questions, inshallah, we'll let Hiroshi explain what the rest of the program consists of.